inflation is here. So how does debt actually help you throughout this inflationary period? Let's find out. Let's talk about debt first. Debt, D-E-B-T, debt. Alright. Why do people even take debt in the first place?
Because there's a difference between bad debt and good debt.
Definitely, right?
Yeah.
So what is bad debt? Bad debt is typically those, if you were to swipe your credit card in store A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you end up not paying your credit card bills, I would consider that as bad debt.
So I think you can just look at it as things that actually eat you, in the sense that when you spend it, it doesn't help you grow more wealth.
Yes.
But then when you're talking about good debt, right, we actually take good debt on, right, to help us generate more.
Yes. So I think growing up, right, I think it's very common for us to hear that, hey, you know what, do not be in debt. I think that's so common, especially in Asia, especially in Asia, right?
Yeah, the problem is that there's no distinction between good or bad.
Yes. But the key here is this, that if you think about it, pretty much almost every millionaire or billionaire that I know, although they have the ability to pay every single thing that they buy in full cash, right? The key is that they are still taking on debt. So the key thing here is to really explore down why are they even looking at debt in the first place when they can actually fully afford something.
Because there's a difference between cheap debt and expensive debt.
Yes. So what is cheap debt or expensive debt, right? I think cheap is probably in the range of anything like 5% and below interest rate, I would say. And then expensive probably above that. So I would say that credit card debts are expensive because typically the interest rate is like 20% a year. But typically if you take even on a mortgage loan or any asset-backed kind of loans, right? Typically the interest rate will fall below the 5% rate, and that's generally considered cheap. And the reason why it's considered cheap is because of the inflation rate. Basically throughout the world. Singapore average inflation rate is actually at around
the target inflation rate is 2%.
2+%, right? 2+%. Target, right? So if you think about it, if you are able to get a debt at 2+% and below, doesn't that mean that the banks are indirectly loaning you free money?
Yeah, definitely. If we have the way or means, right, to make more than 2% with the same amount of money, right, then it's actually cost-free.
Yeah.
So just to give you a simple example, this is not like investment advice, but if you're putting our money into a bank stock, like for example OCBC, UOB or DBS, right, the dividend return is actually more than like 2% at the moment.
Yeah, which is already more than the inflationary rate, right?
Exactly.
So imagine this, right? Imagine that you just put whatever money that you have in the bank stock, right? You know that not only the stock might go up, we don't know, it might go up, it might go down. You do it very long term, probably you will be okay, you'll be fine, alright. But at least the dividend that you receive will already hedge against inflation, and that protects your money by itself.
That's a perfect example. So when we look at that, right, the dividends, right, will hedge against the interest in the sense that you can use the dividends to pay off the interest. But the amount that we invest into the bank's shares or the company itself, right,
might still go up.
Will still go up because of inflation.
Over time, right?
Of course, we're not looking at a 1 year like time horizon, right? We're looking at like maybe 10 years or what. So because of inflation, it will have to go up.
And that's why actually, if you really explore down even to the private banking world, it's so common for people or the wealthy to actually pledge certain of their assets, right? Even their stocks or whatever, right? To get what we call a loan, credit line, okay, from the bank at a low interest rate of 1 to 2%, and use that to then reinvest into even property or stocks, right? Which they are getting more than what they are being charged for, which is typically the 1 to 2% interest rate. So they use cost of 1 to 2%,
but they
try to get a 3 to 4% returns.
That's very, very interesting, very interesting, because we actually do have and hear of like real life example of how they use this to be buying, like for example, UK properties. Maybe Sean can explain a bit more about that.
Yeah. So for example, if let's say you have a few $100,000 in your stock portfolio today, which you're not using leverage option through your, let's say, international brokerage, right? You can actually use this sum of money park into a particular bank, and the bank will give you a credit line, maybe between 50% to 70% of the stock value, depending on the volatility of stock. Alright, and they will give you a small interest rate of, let's say, like 1 to 2% to actually draw down on this stock value. So you have, let's say, to make it math simple, let's say you have $1 million, they give you 70% credit line, you're able to take out $700,000 in cash at a very cheap interest rate, and then reinvest it back into any other thing that you want. For example, fully pay your property in full, alright, so that if your rental yield is like getting 4 to 5%, alright, that's where it technically makes more than the inflation, the interest rate that you're getting.
So obviously, right, if you're talking about having $1 million portfolio and like drawing down on 700,000, right, it will be kind of risky. Okay, the reason being your stock portfolio might drop by 50% or even more, right? So I think the key here is to be prudent, to be like drawing up to maybe 20% at the max for the investment, and having the buffer, right, because like stocks are way more volatile, to make sure that you're still within a safe buffer.
So guys, this concept is exactly the same as buying a property, right? So why do people take debt? Because there is a cost of course, technically taking a loan, just that instead of paying a property in full, then you pledge this property to the bank and then they give you a cash, you just do it the other way. They know that this property value is, let's say, worth $1 million, and that's why they want to give you 75% loan, and because it's collateralized, and that's why interest rate tend to be usually at below the 5% rate for overseas market, or even below the 3% rate for Singapore market itself. So the key here is this, is that if your property grows at faster than the interest rate, especially that you're actually borrowing, then that would means that you are already making money just through by getting debt.
Oh, that is I have a slightly different way of looking at it, because that concept is important if the asset is not producing income.
Of course, okay.
For example, if you are buying gold and you're taking on a leverage, right? And you're taking on a loan to buy gold, and the gold have to go up by the inflation rate or the interest rate, right? Just to maintain. Right? However,
property is making income. So not only we get in terms of outbeating inflation, is still generating income through rental. And of course, that being said, asset value still go up as well. So therefore, I think that makes a lot of sense as to why, of course, millionaires, billionaires out in the world will still continuously take on debt, all right, to make sure that they buy into property, because not only hedge against inflation, generates them income, all right, and asset value continuously increase.
So I hope you are learning something over here, guys. So today we are covering about inflation and debt, right? And in the next video, we'll also go deeper into this.